Hello guys. In the last tutorial, we did a basic setup of our Django model, and where we stopped, we only created the category model. And the main reason for that is we have to start working on the other parts of the model, and it's so you can see we have two branches here, the main and model setup. So today we'll be covering the what's it called the book model. So that's what we'll be covering for today. And okay, so let's start. Let's break things down from ground level. So we are supposed to also create a class book, and we call it model.model, and we take in the title, which is model.char field, and the max length to be um, let's say 200. Okay, for now. And the description, I mostly prefer calling this an excerpt, or they just call it description to describe more information about the book. So models.text field. And the reason why we're using text field, like I mentioned in the previous tutorial, was because it's actually a way to write as many text as possible. So the next one should be cover image. And since this is an image, we'll be using models.image field, image field. And the models.image field should be uploaded to, we can just say book cover, right? Like it should be uploaded to book cover image. And the file, which is the book itself, the actual book, which is more like a PDF book, will be models.file field, file field. And since it's a detailed project, we would actually work with some advanced concepts like validating just PDF files and other stuff very soon. So, but let's just keep it very simple for now. And ISBN, right? A book needs an ISBN, which is a models dot dot char field, and the max length can be um, let's say 13, and unique to be true. Unique to be true. Okay. So publication date, the date it was published, we have to also set that to be models dot date field, and this would actually be just date. It speaks just the date. The author. Now this is where it gets interesting. The author should be. We can actually have an author or an authors field. But let's keep it as author. If we use an author's field, that means a book can have as many authors as possible, and which is kind of ideal for most educational books and stuff. But let us keep it simple and have one author, which is the person that uploads that book as of that moment. So models dot foreign key field, and we can say um, author. But we don't have our author imported. We have to actually import author. And where we store our author is an application called author. So how do I get it? Using, if you properly understand how modules and packages work, you know you can use from author, which is the application itself, dot models. I'm saying go to models in my author, and I want you to import something called author. So now that I have this, author has been imported. Now, what should happen if a book author was like if a book author is deleted, like what should happen to the book? We can actually models dot do nothing, but I would prefer just cascade to keep things very simple and not have issues with migration and blah 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 all the stuff. So next, I need to set the category. So the category should also be a models dot many to many field. The main reason why we're using this is a book should have as many categories as possible. A book can be crime and mystery and still falls under adventure, and still falls under comedy. So if we want to keep that constraint and be straightforward with it, we have to set in many to many field category author. Now the next thing is to have a created acts field, which is an auto field. So it's a models or datetime field, models dot datetime field. And what we try to do with auto now add equals true is to make sure it automatically saves the date it was created. And we can replicate this, but change this to be updated. And also, instead of auto now add to be auto now true. That means the difference between the first one and the second one is whenever a user um, okay, I'm seeing something somewhere, so let's see where the error is coming from. Author book, author clashes. Okay, yeah. So because we have a connection, right? We are supposed to set related name for to avoid connection. You learn more about that in your in the Django models basic to advanced tutorial playlist on that will be pushed very soon. So I'll just set this as books and let's see. Yes, no more issues with that. So this is a related name. Whenever I'm trying to get an author, right, I will just get to books and stuff like that. So the next one, I was trying to explain about the auto now and auto now add field. So I also need a slot field actually because I do not want to search my fields by ID, which I'll be discussing very soon. So let's set it as slot field and we set blank to be true and also max length to be 200. Okay, now that we have all this, the next thing is to save and create the save and I'm sorry, self first, string representation, first, then we return self dot title, right? And let's create our save method. Save method and we call this self as and keyword arguments and we return super dot save as and keyword arguments. Now in between we can literally say something like self dot slug equals slugify, which was imported earlier. We've used that earlier. It has been imported at the top here. So slugify, and we say self dot name. So now that we have all this, our Django models have been fully built. And there are two fields that are needed very soon. Let's build those ones also. And the second one, the one we are supposed to work with is the download field. So class download. Now, this should be a record of download for each user that tries to download the book. So we can have all those records somewhere. Right? So models.model, and we are supposed to pick user to be models.foreign key, and we are supposed to also have book. I'll update the model user very soon to be models.foreign key, and the last one should be download date, which should be models dot date time field and auto now add equals true, which means every time you download a book, just save it for me automatically. So let's work with this user first. We have to also import user. Remember, the logic behind it is we go to the Django dot contrib dot auth dot models and we import user. So the user has been imported, and what we need to do is calling that user here, and we say things like on delete models dot cascade, which is delete the download record if a user is deleted for that user. We can set related name to be download to avoid conflicts on related names because we have to read foreign key relationship here. The second one should be book on delete models.cascade also. And we really do not have to worry about setting related name for this because we set for the first one. And so let's move to the last model. And this time around, we want to work with a model section called the review. Yeah. So a book should actually have an option for people to review them. Before that, let's set our string representation for this string representation. And I can use format string for this instead. So I can say self dot user downloaded um, self dot book. And what I mean is, I can say on um, self dot download date. So this is more like saying Tijani downloaded Why Shoot a Butler on 24th October 2024, and we included timestamp and stuff there while creating that download record. So let's create the class review, and this allows us to, the download is actually more of a feature we'll be using where a user can easily go check all his download records to see books that he has downloaded. So, but for the review section, it is a way for a reader to be able to rate a book based on how good or bad it is. So this will be class review, and it should be models.model, and also we should have book equals models dot foreign key, and we should call this book, right? And we can set our on delete to be models dot cascade, then related name to be reviews. So the next version should be getting the user that is trying to review a book. And this is also a foreign key field. So a foreign key field allows a user to download to a user to get as many books as possible. But for each time they are trying to download, a user gets one book each time. Each time, one user, one book. But it doesn't mean that they can't create other books. So that means I can download 24 books, but not at the same time. I download them individually. So let's work with the second one, models dot foreign key, right? And this is linked in a way whereby a user and the user itself picks a book and is trying to review that particular book. So we have to actually get both the book and the user, and that is why we have this foreign key relationship on that model. So and the we don't have to necessarily set related name for this also. The second part should be the rating, and it should be models dot positive small integer field. Positive small integer field. A positive small integer field takes only positive numbers, but make sure that the numbers are not large numbers like billions or decallions of numbers, you know. So they are very small. So the comments itself is actually very important, and it's going to be models dot text field. And I would actually prefer this to be null equals true. That means if a user doesn't pass a comment, it can still rate a book. And we can also set blank to be true. Okay, so the last one should be the created art and updated art. So all I have to do is just copy these two because we've been using that so often. But in the future, we'll actually talk about abstract classes where we just have a timestamp model and we just inherit that model and use it over and over. So, but for now, we'll try to keep things very simple because it's our first tutorial, our first playlist in the tutorial. Um, so, what should we return here? I should return format string review for self dot book, and I'm going to get something from that book. the title by so self dot user dot username, right? So I'm saying, this is the review for a particular book by this particular user. So, and the user section we use here, the main reason why we didn't use the author is the authors are not meant to rate their own book. We would actually work on a logic where the author doesn't rate their own book, but the users are the ones that are meant to rate the books they read. So class, obviously, for obvious reason, because if I'm an author, I would actually rate my book 5.0 every now and then. So models dot model, and we are trying to create a favorite, which is like you keeping all your favorite books somewhere. So the first thing we want to do is set the user also, and it's still the same logic as this. So what we can do is just copy these two to set and just um, paste them here. And the next thing we need to do is just added at which is going to be a models dot date time field, and we have to set auto now add to be true. So that's it. Our model has been fully set, and the only thing we need to do is sorry, I forgot the it should be favorites. So the next thing I need to do is set the string representation for this, and the string representation should allow me to have something like, or we can just keep this very simple. We don't need a string representation. We can just, okay, here, let's just keep string representation. We can just say um, self dot user dot username favorite self dot book dot title. So what I'm saying is go to get me the username and say maybe something like Ola favorite is like a man called God or something like that. So let's save this. Now, every setup in our Django models, we've done the entire setup, but our database doesn't know about anything so far about the Django, the database, the models that we've created. I want to emphasize on this. Whenever you work on your models and you implement any change on any of the fields that have been created, you really, there is a constraint. It is required for you to make migrations and migrate. So in order to make migrations, we run Python 3 manage.py, make migrations. And the make migration is a script that prepares you for um, without specifying a default, not nullable. Okay, so let's stop this from going on, like moving forward, and let's see what is going on with that. It's telling us that the author, okay, I think that's the author section, author, yeah. Okay, so let's work with that. Python mine deploy make migrations, and